Have you ever found yourself in a situation where saying no felt incredibly challenging? It's surprising, isn't it? Just a two-letter word, yet it can feel harder to say it than any other words. And even when you finally muster the courage to say it, you often find yourself drowning in a sea of guilt. If this situation sounds all too familiar, know that you're not alone. Many of us are dealing with this on a regular basis. We hesitate to say no because we fear it might harm our relationships or make people think less of us. We are afraid of letting people down. We do everything we can to keep everyone happy. Or perhaps we just don't have it in us to say it. In today's video, we'll explore together how to say no and not feel guilty about it. Be sure to stick around until the end because we'll share a super easy and practical way to help you say no easily. Now, without further ado, let's dive right in. First of all, let's delve into the reasons why saying no is often such a challenge for most people. Our upbringing and the social norms we grew up with have a massive impact on how we perceive saying no. It's all tied to our childhood conditioning, where we're often taught to be obedient and accommodating. Think about it. As kids, we are usually rewarded for being obedient, which reinforces the idea that saying yes is the way to go. We are always encouraged to be polite and well-mannered. We are told to avoid conflict and keep the peace, which can make it really tough to say no without feeling like we're being impolite or confrontational. For children, saying no to a parent or teacher often comes across as disrespectful or a form of back talk, and in some cases, it even carries the threat of punishment or negative consequences. Additionally, there are these gender roles, depending on where you come from, that come into play. In some cultures, there is a strong emphasis on women being nurturing and caring, which can add extra pressure to say yes and put others' needs before our own. So when we struggle with saying no, it's not just a personal thing. It's deeply woven into the fabric of our upbringing and the norms of our culture. Before we delve into the art of saying no, we must first reframe and reshape our perception of this two-letter word. Vanessa Patrick, the author of the book The Power of Saying No, aptly puts it, saying no is not a rejection of the other person. Saying no is in fact a means of voicing what you believe in and what truly matters to you. Saying no is not about the other person, it's about us. And it's essential to remember that every time we say yes to something, we're simultaneously saying no to something else. For instance, accepting your friend's party invitation when you would rather spend quality time with your family is a yes to socializing, but a no to cherished moments with your loved ones. Similarly, agreeing to take on an extra work project when you already have too much on your plate means saying no to self-care and personal hobbies. Saying yes to watching a 2-hour movie on a work day can translate into saying no to reading for personal growth and getting an early, restful bedtime. So my dear friends, remember, every yes you say comes with a hidden no, so choose your yeses wisely. Hey, do you like what you're learning so far? If yes, it would be great if you could hit the subscribe button for us because it's the best way to tell us that our videos are adding value to you. Alright, now that you know the importance of saying no, next we will go through 4 tips with you on how you can start saying no without letting that guilt creep in. The first 2 tips mainly focus on laying the groundwork, detailing the actions we can take on our part. On the other hand, the remaining 2 tips involve the application of these foundational principles to guide our interactions with others. These 4 tips are inspired by Vanessa Patrick, and if you want to learn in detail about the concept of empowered refusal, we would strongly encourage you to check out her book, The Power of Saying No. Now, coming back to the video, here are the 4 tips. Number 1. Self-awareness. Saying no effectively without feeling guilty starts with understanding your values, priorities, and beliefs which is also known as self-awareness. Self-awareness provides you with a map to show you what's important to you. With this self-awareness, you can easily distinguish between activities that resonate with your authentic self and those that do not. It helps point you in a direction of what genuinely aligns with your inner compass. So when you're faced with various opportunities or requests, self-awareness helps you pick the ones that align with your real self and say no to the ones that don't. It gives you the strength to make choices that truly represent who you are, guaranteeing that every yes and no you express come from a profound understanding and conviction in yourself. More importantly, shifting your focus from others to yourself eliminates any guilt, as you realize that your no is never a rejection of others. It's about saying yes to your own priorities and convictions. Number 2. Establish personal policies. When you have cultivated a profound sense of self-awareness, knowing what truly matters to you, the next thing is to set simple rules that guide your actions and decisions. By establishing personal policies, they effectively help to create a buffer between external demands and your inner convictions. Now, it's important to note that personal policies are different from rigid boundaries. Personal policies are like flexible, guiding ropes rather than barbed wire fences. Boundaries may sound defensive and can strain relationships, whereas personal policies lead you to a more proactive and authentic approach. By leaning on these personal policies, you transform from being overwhelmed and frustrated when someone makes a request to embracing a state of calm, selectiveness, and empowerment. You'll be able to exhibit a greater sense of conviction and determination. At the same time, personal policies further ensure that each no you express is not about rejecting others but about saying yes to your priorities, beliefs, and self-respect. When you reframe what you value and desire in the context of personal policies, your responses align more closely with your true self. As a result, you are able to stand truer to your principles and communicate your refusals with empathy and confidence. You make choices that genuinely represent your values and priorities, ultimately enabling you to say no without the heavy burden of guilt. Hey, are you still with us? We'll be revealing one of the easiest ways to help you say no effectively very shortly, so make sure to watch until the end. Alright, tip number 3. Use empowered language. Now that we have cultivated a deep sense of self-awareness and established personal policies to guide our decision-making, it's vital to translate these principles into our interactions with others, and one powerful tool for achieving this is using empowered language. The key to empowered language is embracing the phrase, "I don't," instead of "I can't." When you confidently state, "I don't," it sends a clear message that your refusal stems from a place of personal conviction and commitment to your values and priorities. For example, saying, "I can't check emails on weekends," versus "I don't check work emails on weekends," followed by a reason such as "to prioritize quality time with my family," makes a huge difference. This empowered language resonates with authenticity and self-assuredness. As a result, saying no becomes not only easier but also more persuasive. It allows you to communicate your stance with confidence and assertiveness. On the contrary, using this empowered language, such as "I can't," leaves room for ambiguity and invites unnecessary pushback from the requester. When you say, "I can't," it almost begs the question of why you can't, opening the door for negotiation or persuasion that may eventually lead you to say yes when your initial intention was to say no. This distinction between "I don't" and "I can't" is a subtle yet significant one. It serves as a vehicle through which you can claim and publicly state your values while reducing the likelihood of pushback. Now, as promised, we have come to the final tip, which we think is one of the easiest ways you can start practicing, and that is leveraging technology. Did you know that a study in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology found that we are 34 times more likely to say yes to a request when it's made face to face instead of through digital messages? Mind blowing, isn't it? So, if someone is persistently asking you for something in person, you might consider switching to digital communication to say no. Alright, if you want to improve your communication skills and be a more articulate speaker, check out our next video here on how to be more articulate. See you in the next video. Bye!